This happened some time ago, but I still find it hilarious. So my sister lives in NYC and I live nearby in New Jersey. We decided to get rush tickets to Pippin on Broadway. If you don't know what rush tickets are, basically the box office will have about 15-30 tickets that have not yet been sold for that day. When the box office opens, if you are one of the first 15-30 people to show up, you get the tickets at a very discounted price. It's a popular thing to do among students in the area. People show up hours before the box office opens to make sure they get those tickets. The box office opened at 11 a.m. I stayed at my sister's apartment the night before. We got up at 7 a.m. and headed midtown. When we got there were maybe 8 people. So we secured our spot, sat down on the ground, and chilled for the remaining hours left. At about 10:30, we see a girl stop and talk to the group of people in front of us. We thought nothing of it at first. We had a binder in her hand, so we figured maybe she had an audition in the area and was just saying hi to her friends. Then we see she is sitting down with them, and finally someone from the back of the line comes up and asks her, "Are you like in the line? Or just here to see your friends?" She looks up at him and says, "No, I'm in the line." The rest of us are watching and listening intently. The guy goes on to say, "You do know that there are only 25 tickets. We have all been here for hours, and you cutting the line means one of us won't get a ticket." The girl just smiles, shrugs, and says, "Sorry," and doesn't move. "Well, that's crappy," the guy says to her. Again, she smiles, shrugs, and says sorry. The guy doesn't know what to say and walks back to his spot. But those of us who heard the interaction are talking amongst ourselves, basically saying, "Oh, hell no." And the guy next to me kept saying, "Ha, she got to go." 11 a.m. rolls around and the box office door opens and an attendant comes out to get us all in an orderly line. We immediately snitch this girl cut the line. She only been here half hour. We've all been here all morning. Come get this girl. The attendant goes over to the girl and says, "Did you just join the line?" We're all going, "Yup." The girl goes, "Well, yeah, but my friends were saving me a spot." Attendant pulls her out of the line and goes back, getting the rest of us in the line to go inside. We're cheering and clapping. The girl just stands there calling somebody. My sister and I are still talking about how this girl really tried it with a bunch of tired theater kids who've been up since the butt crack of dawn. One of her friends says to us, "Okay, you can stop talking about it now. She's gone." To which we were like, "Nah, we can talk about it, but let it be a lesson. Theater kids don't play." Signed the lease on my current apartment on DC 27, 2017. The start date on the lease was the 28th. Did the walkthrough and notated every single thing. Scuff marks, sloppy paint jobs, dozens of nail holes, dinged corners, cracked linoleum tiles, stains, spray paint on the doorknobs and microwave, etc. Clearly a classy play. Anyway, I turned in the page they gave me and another 2 pages of notes listing every single tiny thing that I could find that wasn't perfect. That should have clued them into the kind of person that I'm, but I guess not. Before the final signing on the 27th, I talked with the app manager and asked if I could start bringing stuff in but not actually take possession until the 1st, since they still needed a day or 2 to shampoo the carpets and repaint some spots. She said, yes, of course, no problem, but the date on the lease was still 12/28/17. I bring over boxes on the 28th, plug in the fridge to get it cold for when I bring over foodstuffs on the 1st, bring over more boxes and call it a day. The 29th, I bring more stuff and check the fridge and notice the fridge is kind of cool, and the freezer is room temp. Not cold at all, let alone freezing. I caught the office lady just before they closed that day on Friday the 29th. I explained that the fridge seems to be broken. It's a provided appliance, specifically listed in the lease, along with a stove and dishwasher. She says no problem, tasks a maintenance guy to check on it with me. He takes 2 minutes to say it's broken. I'm like, yeah. That's why you're here. So how do we fix it? I'm moving in on the 1st. Okay, that's okay. I'll just get a good one from an empty apartment and switch them out. Great. I leave to get more boxes. I'm moving what I can with my car while also working full-time, planning to borrow my dad's truck on the 31st to bring over my bed, food stuff, and other large furniture. 30th rolls around. Still no fridge. Call office. No answer because it's Saturday. 31st. Sunday and New Year's Eve. I bring the rest of my stuff, put food in the kind of cool fridge, hoping it won't spoil. Call the office again. No answer. Jan 1st. Monday. Surely now I can get some help. No, on New Year's Day, the office is closed, of course. I still drop off rent in the rent box. Jan 2nd, Tuesday. And office is still closed because no one likes to work with a hangover, I guess. Most food now is either definitely off or at the very least untrustworthy. I tossed about $80 worth of food, but not before taking a photo of it all. I'm officially pissed off now. Wednesday morning, the 3rd. I'm at the office at 7:55 a.m., just as the apt manager rolls up to open up for the day. She still looks hungover. Must have been one hell of a New Year's. Meanwhile, I haven't had a working fridge for 3 days. That I'm counting, and had to toss a lot of food. I'm not happy to say the least. Still, I politely but tersely told her what was going on. Showed her the pictures, and I was promised I'd have a fridge that day. I go to work, get home at 11 p.m., still no fridge. I did some Googling, and it took a while because the info was not readily available, but I finally found the owner's contact info. I call around 1 a.m., leave a detailed and noticeably upset voicemail, and go to bed. Wake up, go to work, come home that night, and finally the fridge fairy has blessed me with a visit, and I find a working cold box in my kitchen. It's in the middle of the kitchen floor at a weird angle instead of in the spot made for it, but whatever. I'm happy the whole thing is over and I can focus on unpacking. That was Jane 4th, 2018. Needless to say, not a good first impression of the place. 2 weeks go by and I come home to a note on the door saying I owed XX in back rent. Back rent! I haven't even been here a whole month yet. I go to the office to see what's up and get told that I didn't pay for the first 4 days of my lease and that I had to pay that by the end of the month or face a fine. Tried to remind them that the apt manager said I could take possession on the 1st since they still had to carpet clean and stuff, and was politely told to get lost because the lease says December 28th. Well, that's what I heard anyway. But okay, I see now. You want me to abide by the lease? Fine, I will, but so will you. I get a money order for the amount and return half an hour later and slam it on the counter. Apt manager's there too, kinda avoids my eyes, takes the money order and starts to walk back to her office. By the way, I'll be deducting 8 days of rent from February's payment. Just a heads up. Cue surprise double take. What? Why? You can't just not pay the full amount of rent. You'll be fined. Then I pulled out my phone, already loaded to the applicable section of our state's tenant-landlord laws, and read off the part that basically says, if an amenity or appliance provided by the property owner or a guaranteed utility such as water or heat is listed in the lease as being the sole responsibility of the owner, and if that amenity, appliance, or utility is unavailable to the tenant for any number of days during their lease with the owner, then the tenant may subtract that many days' worth of rent from the next month's rent or receive a refund of same if it is the last month of their lease. Confused silence. I explain. That means that, as you say, my lease started on the 28th. That means I didn't have a working fridge for the first 8 days of my lease. That is double the amount that I just paid you for my back rent. Therefore, come February, I'm going to legally and rightfully withhold 8 days of rent because you couldn't honor our lease agreement and get me a working fridge the day I asked for it. Then she kind of shook herself, asked me, please wait one moment while she made a phone call. I sit down and pull up my phone. 10 minutes later, she comes out with my money order and asks me to take it back. This was all just a misunderstanding, and let's just forget about all of this. Big smiles hide the panic. I returned her smile and told her I can't do that. That money order is already addressed to the app complex. I can't cash or deposit it. And besides, you guys were the ones that said I had to abide by our lease agreement. I just did, and now you will too. Cue cool guy exit, double finger guns, and dozens of cheering onlookers. Pew, pew. No, I just got my stuff and said, well, guess I'll see you on the 1st. Have a good one. And I left. Feb 1st rolls around and I drop off my money order for rent. 8 days, along with a reminder note of why that is, and I didn't hear a single word about it. Bonus story, about 6 months in, my toilet starts a micro leak, hairline crack on the inside of the tank, starts staining the linoleum. And rather than drag it out and get the runaround like last time, I write up a note that basically says, pursuant to code 1.4269, blah blah, if the owner does not complete required repairs within 2 weeks of written notification, Tenant may complete those repairs and deduct all related expenses from the next month's rent. Take in the note and present it to the main front desk girl. When asked why, I went to all that trouble when all I had to do was submit a maintenance request. I reminded her about the fridge fiasco. Her eyes went wide and I was told not to worry. They are on it. 3 hours later, I had a new toilet. Man, let me tell you about the craziest thing that went down the other day. So, I'm at the gas station minding my own business, just trying to fill up my beat-up old Honda. It's the usual scene. A line of cars, everyone waiting their turn, and there's me, patiently waiting my turn like a good citizen. Now, picture this. I'm there, nozzle in hand, daydreaming about who knows what, when out of nowhere, this SUV comes speeding in like it's in a Fast and Furious movie or something. I see it in my rearview mirror, thinking, what on earth is this person doing? It's like they're on a mission to break all traffic norms. Next thing I know, bam, this Karen in her big shiny sub slams right into the back of my car. I'm startled, man. My poor Honda might be old, but she's mine, you know? So I hop out, and there she is, this entitled Karen, looking at me like I'm the one who just ruined her day. I'm standing there, staring at my crumpled bumper, and I'm like, what the heck, lady? You blind or something? She rolls down her window, doesn't even bother looking sorry, and says, I don't have time for this. Move your junk out of the way. I'm looking around, and people start chiming in. They saw the whole thing. This one dude is like, hey, lady, you can't just go around smashing into people's cars. And she, without a hint of remorse, goes, my time is more precious than all of yours. I do what I want. Now, I'm not usually one to get all confrontational, but this was too much. I say, look, lady, you messed up my ride, and you can't just act like you own the place. But Karen, she's on another level of entitlement. She's I'll hit whoever I want. Try and stop me. That's when out of nowhere, like a superhero swooping in to save the day, this off-duty cop shows up. He's probably getting his Slurpee or something, sees the commotion, and decides to step in. He asks for the security camera footage, and sure enough, there it is. Karen, crashing into my car like she's auditioning for a demolition derby. The cop, he's got that no-nonsense look, you know? He hands her a fat ticket and lays down a fine that probably sent her credit card into shock. People around are cheering like we just won the World Series. Even the guy at the hot dog stand is clapping. Karen, though, she's fuming. She's like, you can't do this to me. I'll have your badge. The cop just gives her this look, the kind your mom gives you when you've been a real pain. He says, ma'am, your badge of honor today is this hefty fine. Learn to drive and maybe you won't have to meet me again. I'm just standing there, amazed at how the universe works sometimes. The cop turns to me and gives a nod like, justice served, my man. I'm thinking, thanks, Officer Awesome, for showing up at the right moment. Now, you'd think that's the end of it, right? But, oh no, Karen wasn't done. She tries to save face, shouting about how this is all a conspiracy against her, how she's going to get the best lawyer in town and sue everyone. As she's ranting, I'm just quietly taking pictures of my poor Honda and her SUV, you know, for insurance purposes. And the cop, he's got this amused smile, like he's seen it all. He tells Corinne, good luck with that, ma'am, and strolls off. The gas station crowd, they disperse, leaving Karen standing there, defeated and angry. I'm not one to gloat, but I couldn't help but smile as I drove away. My dented Honda carrying the battle scars of a showdown with an entitled Corinne. My former head manager, Diane, and I were talking, and she shared this really funny experience with me. This took place at the theme park I used to work at. Diane was in our camera center, and because there was a long queue and they were short-staffed, she helped man the counter. Everything was going fine until Karen came up. As usual, Karen decides to be a problem. Every photo had an issue. The photos are too light, too dark, too grainy, too much, too little. Then she demands all of her future photos for free. Diane, who is irritated at this point, politely tells her that she doesn't have the power to do that. That's when Karen decides to play a trump card. I'm friends with Bob. I'll call him right now and get you fired if you don't give me these photos for free. Bob is our CEO. What Karen doesn't know is that Diane had actually met Bob when he toured the park and spent a couple of minutes talking to him. They aren't friends or anything like that, but she's pretty confident that Bob wouldn't allow his friends to use him to get freebies. She decides to call Karen's bluff. Really? Put him on speakerphone. I'd love to talk to him." Karen begins to realize that she's been had and starts to back away. "Where are you going?" Aren't you going to call Bob? I want to say hi." "No need," Karen said before leaving. Diane promptly called the manager of guest relations in case Karen decided to try lodging a complaint against her. The manager on duty laughed when she told him the story and promised to be on the lookout. Karen never visited guest relations.